By late '89, the wheels are in motion for Sting to beat Flair and win the NWA World Title. It was supposed to happen on February 25th, 1990, which would have been Flair's 41st birthday there in Greensboro, the site of the original match. It was all supposed to happen on pay-per-view. We know that didn't happen because Sting messed around and tore an ACL shooting an angle with the Horseman just 19 days before the match. So it gets pushed back to July of 1990. Think about that too. The dude tears his knee up in February of 90, and he's back in July winning the thing in Baltimore wearing the American flag get up. What a special moment that was. It was a big moment in his career, and now he's on top in July of 1990. And Sting was really kind of the franchise of WCW, maybe even the cornerstone, even with the arrival of Hulk Hogan in 94. I mean, he was the franchise player. Now, of course, we know when Hogan's here, that's going to level up some of your other business metrics. And you actually joined the squad here in 1996. Would that have been the first time you would have seen him in like 10 years?
Yes. I think here goes the nut job memory that old Double J has. I think I saw him at a house show in 1990 in Tulsa. I was working for the WCCW at USWA during that time, and me and Matt Bourne stopped by a WCW house show. Steiner was there. I think Sting was there. I think I'd seen him briefly, but for the most part, it's definitely the first time I truly worked in the same locker room with him.
So, you know me, I got to go ahead and throw that in my Google machine and see if I can find it. But if you remember that Steiner was there, let me see if I can find that.
I'm curious to see if he was there because I feel like I saw him.
Here it is, November 18th, 1990. It was a matinee show.
Get out of here.
Mike Rotundo wrestled Alan Iron Eagle, the JYD, and the Big Cat, who we know is going to become Curtis Hughes, wrestled the Moondogs. The Iron Sheik would wrestle Brad Armstrong. Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong wrestled the Freebirds. Rick and Scott Steiner were the U.S. Tag Team Champs. They took on the Nasties. Lex Luger wrestled Harley Race here. And in the main event, it was the NWA World Champion Sting and Sid Vicious.
Get out of here.
Oklahoma at the Convention Center, November 18th, 1990. A matinee show, 1,100 folks there, counting you and your pal, 1102.
That's crazy. Yeah. Look at you, bud. How about that?
You found that. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's my wacky memory. But anyhow. God.
Anyway, you wind up not wrestling Sting during that run because the story of WCW thinking Sting had turned its back or turned his back on WCW. Well, that's going to take over. So that happens right after Fall Brawl 1996, and you're going to come in around that same time. So you don't actually get to share the ring with him, but you do get to see this evolution from Surfer Sting, which had become iconic. And now we're going to try something totally new here with Crow Sting as the character evolves. Listen, I know that you saw them all. Let me just ask you now, because there's been a few different versions of the Sting character: Surfer Sting, Crow Sting, and Joker Sting. Do you have a preference of the three?
This Sting right here, when he went into to the Crow, and I don't obviously know the stats like you or others will, but we're talking about going to put 18,000 or close to it this weekend. The WCW's live event business was red hot at this time. NWO had formed a year or so before this. They put tickets on sale. There was no on sale. I mean, they sold out. It was really, really hot. I think the Crow character was maybe peak fandom. That was probably the most successful. So my business mind goes, oh, it's simple, Conrad. I'll take this one. It's that. I personally, as a kid who was young in the business and was watching, I VCR'd at TBS on Saturday nights in my first couple of years of the business, because I was doing Memphis TV on Saturday morning and Nashville Saturday night. So I still wanted to watch their show. I love Surfer Sting as I'll call it my personal fandom. The Joker deal, that thing, he made that his own. To me, it was highly entertaining. And as far as a sports entertainment perspective, I think those were Sting's best sports entertainment promos. He felt that character. That was his idea. That's all Stinger. He made it his own. And I thought from a sports entertainment aspect, it was dynamite. My personal favorite is the Slash run. It is, to me, so unexpected. Again, I did some things with him, and we'll get to it. When he was not actively wrestling, he was, talk about a word, put out to pasture at WWE. It was, his wrestling career was over. And so me sitting at home and being the wrestling junkie that I am and hearing, oh, Sting, is that, I got to watch, and him debuting on Dynamite. Yeah. I mean, I was so damn happy for him, because I'm just like, it's kind of, okay, this for sure is the beginning of the end, but he's going to go out. Now, I had no idea we'd end up this way, but this version is my favorite.
We know that we saw his last WCW match on the last Nitro when he wrestled Ric Flair in a t-shirt. His last TNA match was here in Huntsville against EC3. And unfortunately, his last WWE match was one that ended rather abruptly after a buckle bomb left Sting hurting for certain in a match with Seth Rollins. So the idea that wasn't the last time we saw Sting, and we got to see one more run, I'm so happy that we got it. You go back to the WWF in 1997 in October. A couple of months later, we had the biggest WCW pay-per-view ever. And what drew that number is Sting's big match with Hulk Hogan. It's finally happening. Sting versus the head of the NWO for the WCW World Title. It was a story that really started prior to Fall Brawl. You'd have to go all the way back to Bash at the Beach, 1996. So here we are nearly a year and a half later, and it happens. He wins the world title. What did you watch the pay-per-view? Did you hear about it? What did you think of the way they finished the story with Nick Patrick and Bret Hart? And was it a fast count? Was it a slow count? I mean, there's been a lot of debate about the finish. I mean, we know eventually he did hold the big gold belt up and said Mamacita into the camera, but a lot of people felt like it was a little lackluster. What'd you think?
You know, it's funny how, just thinking about how we consume it today, you can watch content on your phone. I mean, you know, I don't need to get it. I mean, it's just completely different. I was immersed in my job at the time, the WWE. So I wasn't, I don't have really a firsthand, let me go back and tell you exactly how I felt at the time. It was as the, call it, weeks and months had kind of gone on, and the feedback, and, oh, they waited too late, and they didn't pull the trigger soon enough, and all the politics, and, oh, wait, you know, you hear who's booking this and who was really in control and why did they do this, and, you know, all the naysayers. But watching it real time, I didn't. I kind of wish I did, so I could report on it today on the podcast, but I don't. But in a lot of ways, you know, now this is historically speaking, is this kind of the first known chink in the armor? You're going to know better than me. Not chink in,
Yeah,
like,
I think so, because you know they left it sort of who's really champ, and then that led to the covers of magazines saying, we hate to say it, but give Hogan back the belt. Like, it should have been, in my opinion, just definitive. Hey, we've built this thing for a year and a half. Sting wins. Sting's going to become the dominant champion. He's going to now take turns defending against multiple members of the NWO. We don't do that. And Eric has said, you know, as I busted his balls on the show, it was because Sting didn't show up tan enough. And maybe in real life, Sting had a whole bunch of stuff going on in his real life, and it just wasn't a good time. Whatever the reason, I don't know that Sting ever got that over ever again.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of talent get really, really hot. And for whatever reason, there's a fumble. Maybe it's on the talent, maybe it's on the promotion, maybe it's on the booker, maybe there's wrestling politics, or maybe the fans just didn't like it and we made the wrong choice. But whatever it is, it does feel like that was sort of the high watermark. And prior to that pay per view, the biggest pay per view in WCW history was Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan at Bash at the Beach 94. So you come forward 3.5 years, Sting's in that spot, also against Hulk Hogan. I guess Hulk's the common denominator. But I think that's probably the high watermark for Sting in his whole career is Starrcade 97. Like that Crow character,
Yeah.
it was revolutionary at the time.
And what month was this of 97?
December, right after Christmas 97.
Which would have meant I just went back
2 months prior.
Yeah. So that's I'd gone back, and as you can imagine, my 1 year run, it wasn't the greatest, and so at that time I dove headfirst into back in WWF.
Well, while you're over there, he's going to work with the Wolf Pack. So, of all people, Sting actually joins the NWO. It didn't make sense to me then, doesn't make sense to me now. But I know that if you get a red paint Sting at your convention or con, the autograph seekers are going to go out of their way. I know some people have called it tomato face Sting, but it was such a brief run. But so many people still just absolutely love the Wolfpack, like my buddy Corey Hollis. Man, he'd drive to Alaska if it meant he could take a picture with tomato face Sting.